Chapter 4 of French for Reading, Part 2. We're going to start off discussing the past tenses, and we're going to start with the idea of a past participle. In English, a past participle is the verb form that follows I have something, like I have eaten. Eaten is the past participle. I have gone. Gone is the past participle. I have spoken is the past participle. I have talked is the past participle. So sometimes they end in ed, sometimes they're irregular, and um, uh, it's a past participle in that it's not a complete verb. You've got to have some type of helping verb with it. So when I have said I have spoken, that's a past tense, but it's a compound past tense. I spoke is a simple past tense. And so when you have a compound past tense, like I have spoken, you have a past participle in it. The have is a helping verb. So I have spoken. I is the subject. Have is the helping verb, the auxiliary verb. And spoken is the past participle. And we're going to follow basically that same form in French. And something that's interesting about past participles in both French and English is that they can function either as parts of verbs, like we've been talking about, or adjective. So if I talk about the spoken word, spoken is a past participle, because we can say I have spoken, but it's used as an adjective. So past participles can always be used as adjectives, even though we normally think of them as parts of compound verbs. Now for ER verbs, those are our common verbs like donner and montrer, to show. Donner is to give, montrer to show. Monter is to climb or to go up. Like a Canadian Mountie is someone who's mounted on a horse. Créer is to create. For verbs like this, the ER verbs, we typically end A to the stem. So the ER is replaced by A. So donner becomes donné, given. Now they're pronounced the same, but they're spelled differently. Montrer to show becomes montré, shown. Monter to climb means monte, climbed or gone up. Créer to create becomes créé, created. Now notice how we've got two E's with two accents. It's pronounced créé, and that's perfectly fine to have double letters like that in French. And in fact, since créer is a past participle, it can also be an adjective. And so in its feminine form, we would add an E at the end, créer. So you'd have three E's in a row, the first two with accents. And that's perfectly fine in French. Nobody's bothered by it. Now, the past participles for IR and RE verbs aren't quite as simple or regular. For the IR, you take the stem and you add I to it. So finir becomes fini. Agir, to act or to act upon, is agir, acted. So this is to perform an action type of act. It's not like to act as in being an actor. It's a very general, abstract word, used in a chemical sense, to act upon something. Réussir is to succeed, and réussi would be the past participle, succeeded, or as an adjective, successful. Those are the IR verbs. The RE verbs, which are all irregular, the closest thing we can get to a rule is add U to the stem, but that only works sometimes. Vendre, to sell, becomes vendu, sold. That's what they put up on the signs. The realtor, once a realtor has sold a house, they'll put vendu up in front to show that they have sold it and leave their advertising up there. Dépendre is to depend, and we change that RE to a U to get dépendu as the past participle, depended. Descendre, to descend or to go down, becomes descendu, descended. Now, a lot of past participles are irregular, and here's some common ones. You'll want to memorize these, especially être and avoir. The past participle for être is été. So that's been, B-E-E-N, been. Avoir is eu, EU. Now, this is a tricky one because it doesn't look at all like avoir. It doesn't have any letters in common with it at all. So if you don't recognize eu, or if you don't recognize été, and you look them up in the dictionary, they're not going to be there because they're conjugated verbs. So you want to memorize être and avoir so that when you see été and eu, you want to be able to recognize them right away and not get lost, because these past participles are really pretty common. Découvrir, literally it means to decover or discover. We would translate it as discover. The past participle is découvert. We've got an ERT ending, which is irregular. Connaître, the past participle is connu. So the whole second half there is disappears and it's become connu. So connaître is to know, connu is known. So this is connaître means to know a person. So connu would be a person that's known. Produire means to produce. Produit means produced. It's also the word for product, something that is produced. Écrire, that's for writing. You can see how we get the word script there, or scripture. The past participle for écrire is écrit. The RE turns to a T. All right, so let's move on to some past tenses. We've been looking at the past participle, and we'll use the past participle to help us form some of the past tenses. Now let's look at some of the past tenses in English to get an idea of the variety that we have. I spoke, that's a simple past tense. I have spoken, that's the present perfect. Now we call it present perfect, but it really is something that happened in the past. I have spoken. I was speaking is a past imperfect. I used to speak means I was speaking, but I don't do it anymore. I would speak could be like habitual past speaking, or it could be a conditional. But if it's a habitual past, I would speak every morning when I woke up and saw the beautiful birds outside, or something like that, describing my childhood. That would be a past tense. I would speak. And I had spoken would be a past perfect. I had spoken before I decided what to do. It's a past tense indicating something happened before some other event in the past. So we have lots of examples of lots of past tenses in English, and we're going to have a lot of past tenses in French too, except they're not going to correspond one-to-one to each of these past tenses. There'll be similarities, and there'll be some that can be translated one way but not another. So we'll spend a lot of time on the meaning of the past tenses. So let's start with a tense called the passé composé. So passé means the past. So like in English we say, oh, that's passé, that's out of style, that's past. So past composé means composed. This is actually a past participle for composé. The past participle is composé. It means composed. So it's a past tense composed out of two words, or we could say a composite past tense. And the way that we form this tense, passé composé, is with either the present tense of avoir, or sometimes être, plus a past participle. So let's take the verb donner, to give. We start with a present tense of avoir, and if it's a first person singular, we're going to do j'ai, I have, that would be the present tense of avoir, and then donner is the past participle. So literally it says I have given, but it can be translated two ways. I gave or I have given. And it depends on the context which way you translate it. However, I gave is going to be a lot more common than I have given. This is just like the normal way of saying the past tense, j'ai donné. So, but if we need a perfect tense, you would also use I have given, and the context would indicate which one is which. So don't get into the habit of translating it word for word, I have given. You have to remember that it's a passé composé, and it probably should be translated as just this one word past tense, I gave. Now here we have être. Remember that has an irregular past participle. Its past participle is été, and it's we're going to put the present tense of avoir. With they, it's ils ont été. And that will be translated as they were or they have been. Now on page 63, you can look at a lot more examples, and I encourage you to do that before going on. Now here's the 7 sentences for a second set of exercises for this chapter, and we have the passé composé. So you're going to be looking for the verb, and it's going to have two parts. It's going to have the helping verb, and it's going to have the past participle, and you'll have to translate them both correctly.